Thanks, Missy. And thanks to the organizers today for giving me the opportunity to come here and talk to you all about this. It's Fernwood Neighbourhood Resource Group Society. Fernwood NRG, Fernwood Energy, and that's what we hope to carry into today's talk is energy. One day this spring, over 300 people came together in a mass act of caring to paint poles in one neighborhood. But first I want to pick up the story in 2002. By the time Monday magazine put a bucket load of syringes on its cover, we in Fernwood already knew we had a problem. The heroin trade had first arrived downtown, but soon made its way into the next closest neighborhood, Fernwood. You can imagine that as the chair of the board of directors of the Neighbourhood Community Center, these were the last 3 words that I wanted to see in print. Funky, junky, Fernwood. Yeah. But things didn't get any better. In fact, they got a whole lot worse. This photo here was taken in the summer of 2005, fully 3 years after Monday's expose on the dangers of the inner city. What is now affectionately called the Cornerstone Building was then covered in graffiti and boarded up. And inside, it was even worse. A core group of us decided to take action. We got organized. One night, at the deserted Georgian Dragon, a few of us wrote out some ideas as to what meant the most to us, our principles and values. Later, we wrote them up as a declaration. And ever since, we've been publishing them everywhere for everyone to see. We also wrote up our vision, and although it has a few too many words in it, the first statement, written when the Cornerstone Building was still boarded up, tells you what we were aspiring to. We took a huge risk, and we bought the boarded up Cornerstone Building. We draped it with banners, we had a big party, and then we set to work. We held work parties every weekend for months to slowly demolish the interior, and then we started to build. We built 4 3-bedroom units of affordable family housing. We created Fernwood's living room, the Cornerstone Cafe. We installed geothermal heating, which prevents 14 tons of carbon emissions annually. And we won an award from Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation for best practices in affordable housing. We did it. We brought the neighborhood back from the brink. But we didn't rest. We actually built another 6 units of affordable housing for families, which we finished in September 2008, just before the bottom fell out of the world economy. And then we rested, at least for a while. But there are still those who want to drag things down. They don't respect property. Believe me, I know how hard we've had to work to acquire the few pieces of property that we have, so it's given me a whole new understanding of what it means to respect property. They mark their territory with tags, and if allowed to stand, the tags will proliferate until eventually they cover every unmarked surface. One response is to wage war. This pole is tagged. The tags were painted over with brown paint. So that's not the original telephone pole, that's brown paint. Then it was tagged again. The tag was painted through with a red X. Below it, it was tagged again, but in a different color. Now, just imagine if the people with all this energy to frustrate each other each night actually came together and did something constructive. But you know, one thing we have noticed over the years, dealing with this issue in the neighborhood, is that the taggers have a code. They respect art. Years ago, a neighborhood woman, Beth Threlfall, started painting over tag poles artistically. And years later, her work is still there. Sure, it needs touching up once in a while, but the art stands. More recently, Emily Grav of the Paintbox School of Art led children's painting classes to paint poles on Gladstone Avenue and the beautiful mural in Fernwood Square. These too still stand. Fernwood NRG didn't invent pole painting. We just noticed that it works. So we supported Beth and Emily to make it big. Together, we set a goal to paint 100 poles in one day along all of Fernwood and Gladstone. We made posters and handbills. We made a how-to guide. We put all this information in our newspaper too and distributed 4,000 copies to the neighborhood. And we planned and prepared, and then we waited. Finally, pole painting day arrived. We were ready. Or at least we thought we were. First it was a trickle, and then it was a flood. We were swamped. People were lined up 20 deep to find out which pole was assigned to them, where to get the paint, the water, the brushes, the sponges, the stencils. It was one of the most intense mornings of community organizing I've ever been involved in. We had over 300 people show up to paint, and over the course of a few hours we made sure that they got everything they needed to paint the pole in Fernwood. We lived and demonstrated our principles that day. You bet. I know it sounds great, but if you weren't there, it's hard to appreciate the beauty of it all. It was gorgeous, colorful, and vibrant in a way that day-to-day life just isn't for most of us. Yeah, we really lived our principles that day. And although it is likely most of the participants weren't aware of the values that motivated us, I know that everyone involved felt there was a special spirit animating that day. This picture in particular really is worth the full 1,000 words, maybe even more. And so's this one. Yeah, we really lived and demonstrated our principles that day. But the most beautiful thing of all, the thing that really left me spellbound at the end of the day, was the very last pole to be painted. Long after most had gone home, one crew kept working on the pole in the very center of the neighborhood. And as I looked at it, it hit me. We really had done it. The people who painted this pole weren't instructed as to what they should paint. They did it spontaneously. It wasn't cynical, but completely genuine. They painted a heart to represent the center of our neighborhood. I've been lucky enough to see a few visions reach their fruition. The most important thing about having a vision is realizing when you've achieved it, because that's the most dangerous time of all. If we rest content in our achievement, we might easily forget the power of having a vision to motivate us. No, that is when we must come together to celebrate, and then forge a new vision that will continue to propel us forward. And so I challenge all of you sitting here today, and any who may eventually see this on film, what is your vision for your neighborhood? What are your principles and values? I urge you to contemplate that, and after a time, to make your own declaration. And if you do, you might just be lucky enough to see your vision spontaneously painted on a utility pole in the heart of a neighborhood near you.